Hey everybody, this week I want to help you a little bit with another tip for success, and we'll talk about transitions. So one of the common things that I see from students who are moving from 101 to 103 is that they sometimes look at paragraphs as just individual units. While that's true to some degree, you also have to have a flow between paragraphs to make the essay whole. So the basic point is this. You're not going to summarize these articles that you're working with for this assignment paragraph by paragraph, nor will you have any kind of order that says the next article or first or second or third or last. That numerical or chronological kind of summary belongs in a book report but doesn't belong in an argument. And an argument is always going to be driven by your claims and your analysis. In other words, it is your ideas that lead to the transitions between paragraphs. And it's your language, it's your opinion, it's everything you do to connect ideas that creates the logic or the logos in argument. So briefly here, I'm going to look at one good example from the samples that you have in this week's module. This is Navarrete's. And what I'd like to do is just look at the first overall body paragraph here. And let's see how it flows into the second one. So the first body paragraph begins with a deductive claim. That means that the claim here is in the first position rather than at the end of the paragraph, which is inductive. A lot of people feel more comfortable with deduction, but whatever suits your fancy. So here, our author says that USA Today's article called X falls short in being as informative as the Washington Post. So this is a good deductive claim. It's comparative. It compares the USA Today article to the Washington Post article, and it says USA Today is better, and that's very important to have in an argument. You can't just say that this article does X. It has to be compared and shown to be either better or worse than another article that's a part of your essay. So this establishes the theme of the paragraph, and then the writer does a good job of quoting the articles, right? So claim, support, reasoning format. Here we have the claim. The supports are the quotes or facts or statistics that the writer uses. And then when the writer gives these quotes or facts or statistics, the writer uses his or her own analysis to draw a conclusion to the claim of the paragraph and to the overall thesis of the essay. It's not magic, it's just how you weave things together. So there's lots of good language here. Here right in the middle of it, after this parenthetical citation, the writer says, unlike USA Today, the Washington Post included the direct talks about the 25th Amendment, right? An important detail, okay, we have a little error there, which added to the development of the impeachment of Donald Trump on January 13th. USA Today also overlooks ... right? So we go back to the theme, okay, that USA Today's article falls short in being as informative as the Washington Post, and this writer is developing it and doing a good job of it with, grammatical errors, misspellings, they happen, but this is still well structured. Now, with that being said, as we wind up the paragraph, it's necessary to remind you that, in terms of the number of supports that you can have 2, 3, 4 quotes. It really doesn't matter. But a good general way of thinking about it is the amount of sentences of your own thinking should be equal to the amount of the sentences of support. So if you have 4 quotes, you should probably have 4 lines of analysis, that kind of thing. And a good body paragraph will shoot in the range of 10, 14 sentences at max, right? Now, we have this particular theme again. USA Today's article is not as good as a Washington Post. It's not as informative, right? As we get to the end of this paragraph, the writer says, the Washington Post, however, covers all the features of the story, no matter how small, in a concise matter to create a story which offers a full perspective. So it's kind of a synonymous way of repeating that same theme, which is very much appreciated. Repetition in argument can be a good thing as long as it's done with synonymous language, not repeating your own words over and over again. Now, We go from there into our second body paragraph, and the whole point of this is to ask ourselves how these two things flow together. Now, I'm going to tell you before I start reading that this is a weak transition, but it can be made stronger pretty easily. The writer starts with a quote, U.S. Capitol secured, 4 dead after rioters stormed the halls of Congress to block Biden's win. An article written by Ted Barrett, Manu Raju, and Peter Nikias of CNN offers a less organized and unreliable perspective on the events. ... Okay, so here's just the language. If you want to get a better flow from this concept of having a full perspective, as the Washington Post does, you should probably just reorganize the words of this sentence to keep going with this concept of a full perspective, right? So if I were giving a critique to Navreet here, I would say, all right, let's just change this word order around, and instead of beginning with the quote, and that's honestly a very bad idea, especially a quote that doesn't have a signal phrase, you just don't want to do it. And I will even go a little bit farther. Avoid starting with a quote or ending with a quote, because it's your language, it's what you do to put the context of the quote there for the reader that actually convinces the reader that your thesis is correct. So you're always leading up to it and leading out of it with analysis. Now, all I think you would do here is take the second half of this and put it at the beginning of the sentence. I would say probably something like this, starting here. Okay. I would use a transitional expression like the word accordingly or moreover to start the paragraph, and then go, moreover, CNN offers a less organized and unreliable perspective on the events which occurred in the Capitol. This can be seen in the article written by Ted Barrett, Manu Raju, and Peter Nikias entitled U.S. Capitol Secured, etc. Okay. So, transitions are logical. They are done with words and they are done with ideas, your language, your mind, your structure, but they're not done with chronology. I see a lot of the writers saying the next article I'm going to look at, and that almost always leads to a subpar or failing essay. So take ownership of this, let your ideas drive the narrative, link the paragraphs logically in units that seem to flow by the context of the argument, by the nature of the claims, or by the nature of the analysis. Use those transitional expressions, the moreovers, the accordinglys, to link things where it seems to be forced. You can just join them that way. And in that way, you want to make the whole essay flow. You've got a long one here, 6 to 7 pages or so. So it's important that it reads as a whole rather than just a bunch of individual paragraphs that you have outlined and then written. So that's my tip for now. As always, I'm available for office hours or for questions via email, so I look forward to working with you as your drafts are due soon. All right, take care, everybody.